5. So we'll talk about chapter 5 because we have revised and reviewed chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 in a very brief way. So let's talk about how important planning is. Now, planning basically, I think you understand the word plan. You plan for a weekend, you plan for a vacation, you plan for a career, you plan to apply for jobs and try and secure a job. So I guess planning is something that we use generally every day, and because plans are required to achieve something. If you need to achieve a goal, if you need to achieve something in life, it could be financial, it could be strategic, it could be personal goals. For everything, you need to have a plan. So plan itself is the action steps that are required to achieve something. It gives you a sense of strategy to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So when companies and organizations set goals for themselves, so they actually plan. The reason being, if you don't plan, you don't know how you're going to get there. So every organization decides what they want to achieve in the next 1 year, next 3 years, next 5 years, or next 10 years. So plans could be short-term plans, targets and goals or plans can be long-term, and every plan should be clearly defined, measurable. They should be goals that you set for yourself should be very specific. They should be measurable, something that organizations can achieve. So they should be attainable, and they should be relevant in the sense that they need to take into consideration what's happening around them in terms of competition, in terms of macro environmental variables. So they are very aware of what is expected and what others are planning to do. They're forecasting. And based on that, they adjust their plans, they adjust their strategies of how to overcome competition, how to survive, how to grow or expand. So you have several types of plans in several scenarios and different kinds of strategies that we will discuss in today's class. So let's go back to the slides. So learning objectives, as always, every chapter has certain learning objectives for us. So today we are going to discuss the nature and purpose of planning, a brief introduction which I already gave you, and then explain what managers do in the strategic management process, because organizations are not just planning for today, but they also are interested in planning with a vision that they see for themselves to achieve in the future. And compare and contrast approaches to goal setting and planning. There are several ways you could do planning. So we are going to speak about some of the approaches, including management by objectives, and we can do corporate level strategy, business level strategy, functional level strategy, and operational strategies. There are different types of goal setting that organizations involve in. So we're going to discuss that as 5.3. And the last one is discuss contemporary issues in planning. So that's what we're going to do today's class. So what is planning? I'm happy there is this view here which comes up. So you can also have a look at what I'm explaining to you. So planning basically is a major function that managers do, and you need plans so that you know what you want to achieve as an organization or as a department or as a business. You know what you want to achieve. It could be X amount of sales compared to last year. Do we have greater revenue streams, more revenue streams? Do we have greater profitability? Or are we launching new products? Are we doing enough innovation? So plans could be for several purposes, both financial planning and strategic planning. This is what organizations want to achieve. Now, unless you plan, you cannot organize their work. You cannot say who should be doing what. So plans actually guide the process of organizing. So the next function is organizing. So if you want to say some XYZ is responsible for doing something, or a particular department has to do certain things to achieve an organizational goal, that function where you're saying XYZ is supposed to be organizing something or making sure that the activities are getting done, or you want to allocate resources, you want to make people responsible. You also want to make sure that everybody has the authority to implement whatever action plans are decided. So the function organizing depends on how the planning has happened in the organization. You need to plan first, and then only then you can organize. Organizing is allocating work, allocating resources, making sure everybody is aware of their responsibilities. So, organizing cannot happen unless you know what you want to achieve as a company. So, the primary management function is planning. The first function is planning. Only then you have, other functions like organizing, leading, and controlling. So planning is deciding an organization's objectives or goals. That's what I was saying, and getting the job done by establishing an overall strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, plan or goals is what you want to achieve. Strategy is how you want to achieve those. So what you want to do is a plan or a goal, but how you want to achieve that goal is what we call as strategy. So planning involves both setting of goals and then crafting a strategy so that you can implement the strategy, you can execute the strategy to get closer to achieving those goals that you have set for yourself as a company. So that's what planning is. It's deciding on the organization's objectives or goals and getting the job done by establishing an overall strategy also for achieving those goals. And you also have a proper hierarchy of plans. What does the company want to achieve? What does the business want to achieve? What does each of those functional departments want to achieve? What do teams want to achieve? What do individuals have to achieve? So that's what we call as a hierarchy of plans, because corporate level goals, business level goals, departmental level goals, then operational goals are all there. So you need corporate level strategy, business level strategy, functional level strategy, operational strategy, so that you can implement those strategies or approaches or action plans so that you achieve those goals that you're setting for yourself at various levels. That's why it's called a hierarchy of plans. You're cascading the goals into smaller goals. Planning can be informal or formal. So, I mean, formal planning is very good because it actually takes into account all the data that's available, all the feedback and reports that you get from several, players in the organization. You get feedback from them, and you're using that and involving people's inputs, their participation before you decide the path forward for the organization. You're deciding which direction the organization has to go, and you're also deciding specific outcomes that the organization wants to achieve. So formal planning is a definite process which every organization requires, especially if the organization gets large and the operations are very complex. A formal planning process must be there, or else who's going to do what? We are not sure. But then smaller businesses, they can use informal planning. We don't have to have very extensive processes. You don't have to document much because it's a small business. It's easy to communicate. Everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So informal planning processes can be, easily applicable for small businesses. But if the organization is large, it's getting big, their operations are across many countries or regions, definitely you need to have a formal planning process so that everybody knows what's expected and what should be done and what are the timelines. That's what it's saying. Specific goals that are to be met in specific time periods. And these goals are written down and made available to everyone. So once the plans are done, every stakeholder in the organization knows it. Employees know it. Your top management knows it. So everybody is aware what we are supposed to be doing as an organization. So formal planning process, plans are documented. That particular document is shared across electronic media, through emails, through company websites, maybe by posting them in conspicuous places. Everybody is aware where the organization is headed in the next 3 years, next 5 years, next 10 years. Because planning is like gives a sense of direction. It tells us where our efforts must be, because this is what we want to achieve. It's setting goals for the company, and this is what we want to achieve. So we're going to the next part is reasons for planning. And we already spoke about it. So if you don't plan, see, the first thing is to establish some kind of coordination effort. Who does what? Who's responsible for achieving what? So for coordination, planning is a must. It actually helps coordinating the efforts of managers and non-managerial employees. So you can talk about the people who actually have authority to take decisions. Those are managers. Those employees who are actually implementing something, who take orders and execute some work or tasks. Those are non-managerial employees because they do not supervise others, but plans let there some amount of coordination between managerial employees versus non-managerial employees. So each individual knows what is expected, teams know what is expected, and between departments, every department knows what they are supposed to be doing. So we are not duplicating work, we are aware what other departments are doing, we work in some form of synergy, we work in some form of coordination. It's only because planning has been properly done. The second one is planning reduces uncertainty. Imagine if you want to plan for a holiday and you don't know where to go. How are you going to get there? And even if you knew where to go, if you don't know where to, stay for accommodation, where would you find places that you would enjoy eating? How would you do first day? What would you do second day? What are the places of interest that will make your holiday or vacation really memorable? So I think, you if you don't plan, you're lost because you don't know about the country that you're visiting, you don't know the places of interest that you're actually about to visit, you don't know places of convenience that will get you some shopping experiences. So if all that has to be done, you need to go research and study what places you want to see, how do you get there, what kind of transportation is available, how much of money would it take, how much of time would it take. So you need to plan everything, places, food, travel, expenses. Every little thing has to be planned so that you're not feeling that it's uncertain. You're not sure what you're going to do. So if you want to reduce your uncertainty for a vacation, you have to plan. Think about a company. They do much more complex things. They are actually producing products which are extremely high tech, perhaps, and they're actually getting supplies from several suppliers. They need to make sure the finished product is of high quality, quality standards are met, compliance issues are met, and then you need to distribute whatever products that you produced. You need to market and sell it so that customers know that your product is available, they're aware of it, and then you need to sell it and then also give proper after sales service. High quality service is also required so that you want to retain customers. So uncertainty is very high for organizations. You don't know what your competitors are going to do. So uncertainty is always at the back of your mind. So more the planning, the better you're prepared for contingent situations, the better prepared you are for unforeseen kind of events. So planning is required, not just for long term, but even short term. And planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities, obviously. As I was telling you, every department knows clearly what they're supposed to be doing. Teams know what they're supposed to be doing. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. So we're not just duplicating work, we're not wasting our time because each of us have a goal. Teams have goals, departments have goals, businesses have goals, organization has an overarching goal, or maybe several goals, primary goals, secondary goals. So planning is extremely important for reducing overlapping of how these stakeholders are engaged, and also it's a great way of reducing wasteful activities or optimally utilizing resources and time. Finally, planning establishes the goals or standards that facilitate managerial control. See, if you don't know what you want to achieve, how do you know? How do you measure what you have already done? How do you know if what you have done is good? How do you know the organization's performance is good or bad? So, if you have a plan and you have a goal, you know this is what is ideal in terms of accomplishing something. And then your actual performance might be, as an organization, might be a little lower. You want to find out what's the reason for that gap. What's the set goal for the company? What's our actual performance? What is the reason for that gap in performance? Are we unreasonable? Did we take into account all the factors of competition and stuff like that? Or maybe our strategy is not the best strategy. And if you can tweak your strategy and approach of how to achieve those goals, maybe this gap can be reduced gradually. So obviously, planning is very much required for measuring and taking corrective action. You want to go closer to your goals. Suppose your GPA is 3, you want to go to 3.5. Change your strategy, have better plans for your studies, and you work hard and you put efforts, you might go to 3.75, 3.8, 3.9. So you want to graduate with a very strong GPA so that you get admission into a good graduate school, you get noticed by employers when you put your resume there. So obviously, planning and then measuring your actual performance, then taking corrective action. That is called as controlling. Taking corrective action to move closer to your goal. That is called as controlling. So unless you have a plan, you cannot control and you cannot make progress. So planning is required for coordinating, for organizing, for leading, for directing people towards achieving something. Planning is required for, reducing waste, not duplicating work. Planning is definitely required for controlling. So planning is a very important function, not just for managers, for all of us in our daily lives. Now, sometimes criticism is there for formal planning. So it might become too rigid if you plan for everything. There's no flexibility. There's no scope for creativity. There's no scope for that intuition, the feeling that you're bringing in from your experience, from your cognitive intelligence, and your gut feeling. So you're maybe even the emotional element. So you're just stifling that much of freedom at the workplace. So too much of formal planning can be detrimental. It can be a disadvantage. No planning is dangerous, but too much of planning you might lose the fun element, you might lose the creativity, you might lose the intuition part of it. So, and planning perhaps is so focused on today, and sometimes you kind of forget the long-term picture, and that's why you should also think about mission and vision. You do not everything for today's success, but you do certain things that are like an investment, and the returns of which will come over a period of time and well into the future. So, too much of planning. Sometimes, once you succeed today because you formally plan something, you're expecting to succeed again with the same plan tomorrow. Maybe not. Things have changed, scenarios have changed. So you got to take notice of what has changed. So, too much of planning and thinking plans that have worked in the past will also work now and will work in the future may lead to failure. So, formal planning can make it rigid, can stifle freedom, can reduce creativity and intuition. Too much of formal planning. That's the kind of criticism you have for planning as a process. Okay, does it pay to plan? Of course it does. Now when you plan, you make sure you're not having wastage, you're optimally utilizing resources. So these are wonderful things that you get as a payoff by planning. Higher return on assets. You want to make sure you're utilizing, money of your investors in the right kind of business purposes. Improved quality of planning, definitely. It really is helpful because nobody is confused of what is expected of them. We all know what we are working for, and we are happy and proud if we achieve something. It keeps us motivated, it keeps us engaged and committed to our workplace. So there are plenty of benefits of planning. Appropriate implementation is a key element. I mean, organizations must make sure that they're it's just not planning and having great goals for yourself. How do you mobilize and incentivize action? How do you allocate resources? Do you need to train your employees? Do you give proper rewards and incentives for them if they have achieved something? So you need to create a strong organizational culture, recruit the right set of people, use the right management styles and leadership styles, and maintain, say, equity and transparency and fairness, the way you treat people. And if teams and individuals have done great, do you reward them? Do you appreciate and recognize their effort? So there are plenty of things that come after planning. Plans are the first step, but implementation has a lot of things: systems in place, IT and technology support, resources that are available, training given, say the kind of leadership and management styles that affect individual employees. And then, of course, you have incentives and rewards, which you want to make sure you're having the right ones, which appreciate and recognize hard work and achieving of goals. So, implementation, is a key thing for making sure your plans succeed. So we're going to the next objective. So we finished what is planning and why are plans important, and as what is the role of formal planning versus informal planning. We said formal planning is required for large organizations, and informal planning can be that much more easy to do if you have small companies like family owned businesses and stuff. And we also spoke about too much of formal planning, how can it stifle creativity, it can cause rigidity and stuff like this. In the last slide that we discussed was, you need to make sure the implementation is there, and several other things that are supportive of the formal planning process to succeed. So the second objective, explain what managers do in strategic management process. Now, when you say strategic, you're thinking long term. So you start off with something like a mission. Every organization has a mission. Now, mission simply says who we are. If you're a company, mission is telling who we are. What do we represent? What is the purpose of our existence? What really defines us is our mission statement. So it defines who we are, why are we here at the first place, and what do we stand for, what do we represent, and what's the purpose of our existence. You know all these questions, that's your mission. So defining your mission for your company is extremely important. Use the right words, use the words that can inspire employees, that can inspire, give a sense of direction of, and make us feel proud. It's imaginative, it's easy to communicate. So all these elements are required for a good mission and good vision statement. Okay, so in this case, we're talking of what managers to do to develop an organization's strategies. So strategic management, it has an impact on performance. It prepares managers to cope with challenging situations or changing situations. It guides managers to examine relevant factors in planning future action. So obviously, we're looking at how you can size up what's going on around you as a company, and you make sure that you're taking the right strategy. Is how. How do we achieve goals? So if we're setting goals for our company or our business, how do we achieve those? That's strategy. So when you're talking of strategy, you're planning a series of actions. It's an action plan. Strategy is an action plan to achieve a specific goal. So those goals can be strategic or even financial goals. If I want to improve my profitability, that's a financial goal. If I want to introduce a new product line and add to the existing product line, a strategic goal. I want to diversify my business and produce something else, that's a strategic goal. I want to collaborate with some other company on technology development, strategic goal. So there are many strategic goals versus financial goals. So it actually helps when you have a clear approach or an action plan. What should you do so that you achieve these goals? You have a very good chance that your organization's performance will get better. You know how to actually cope with the challenging or changing situations, and it guides us as managers to look at all the relevant factors, macroeconomic variables, political, environmental, social, technological, economic, and legal framework. Look at all these factors, look at competition, and how do we change our strategy? How do we change our approach so that we achieve those goals at the end of the day? So that's a clear case why, say, strategic management is extremely important. Here are some examples in your slides. You can read them. Now, basically, steps in the strategic management process. If you look at these steps here, it talks about identifying the organization's mission, goals, and strategies. That's what I was saying. Mission actually defines who we are. What do we represent, basically? And what's the purpose of our existence? You need to have a strong, inspiring, directional kind of mission so that every employee knows this is our overarching mission, basically, there. And then we also define goals as a first step. Once we define our financial goals and strategic goals, for the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, we come up with strategies. How to get those goals done, how to achieve those goals. So it's necessary also to do a SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT, strengths and weaknesses. You're looking at your own organizational strengths, your company's strengths. See, organizations have access to resources. Say, my company has resources like land, supplies of raw material. My organization can have physical assets and physical locations, and all those tangible assets can be there. There are plenty of intangible assets like social capital, good network, human capital, smart employees, a great management team that can become an intangible resource. The goodwill that I have with the public, with customer groups, and with suppliers, the network that I can build with distribution channels and logistics, companies. So all these are resources that I have. These are my strengths. Finance, having enough money is a resource. Greater liquidity definitely is a resource. I have more money for research and development. I have more money for innovation. So these are all my strengths. Any of these things that I don't have, my company doesn't have, can be a weakness. It can be a possible weakness. So you want to ask yourself, what are the strengths that I have? And what are the weaknesses that I have? As when I say I'm talking of my company. So I'm interested to look at what are the strengths of my organization. I'm also interested to look at what are the weaknesses that I have as an organization. Both are important. Now, when you know your strengths, you want to use those strengths. You want to combine those resources in ways that can create competences, that can create abilities for your organization that you're very good at and proficient at doing. So, when you combine resources, your strengths, you can create a unique ability to do something really good as a company. Suppose we talk of Tesla, for example. For Tesla, I think great engineering, great technologies, innovation, smart people, brand image. So these are resources. Say research in batteries, and how do we use rechargeable lithium-based batteries to have greater power, faster charge, and give greater performance. And technologies and innovations, those have gone in for several years in developing their electric vehicles, EVs that you call them as. I think those are resources, and the brand image they have built over a period of time, the quality that they have actually promised and delivered time again and time and again. So all these can become resources. When you combine these resources in ways that create unique competences, abilities that you're very good at, and you do it so well that other companies cannot do them so easily. They take a long time to get there. They cannot imitate your competencies easily. They're very unique abilities, so that is distinctive. These competences that Tesla has is pretty distinctive. They give Tesla an advantage over competitors. It gives, when you say an advantage, Tesla attracts more customers, more new customers. Tesla customers perhaps will go back to Tesla if they launch a new product or a new model of their cars or whatever. So obviously, they're able to draw new customers and retain their old customers. And that means greater revenue, repeat purchases means more revenue, more sales means more profitability or more liquidity. So obviously, we have core competences that are giving us results. I tried to give you an example of how you combine strengths to create a competence, ability that your company is very good in doing something, not in one thing, maybe in several things. And those several things are important for your business. They are core to your business. You don't want to have a competence which is of no use. You want a competence that you're very good in doing something that is useful for your business, that you can convert those abilities into, drawing new customers, giving them high quality products or serving them better. So those are your strengths. You combine those resources in smart ways, in optimal ways. So weaknesses, when you don't have resources, any of these resources, it can be a weakness. when you don't have core competences, when you don't have distinctive competences, it can become a weakness. So you have to analyze yourself as a company. And that's why strengths and weaknesses are referred as internal analysis. It's about you. Every now and then, you need to recalibrate and ask yourself, are my strengths really relevant? Do we need to develop new strengths? Do we have certain inherent weaknesses? How do I overcome these weaknesses within the company? Should I develop new technology? Should I collaborate with someone else, some other company? Should I give training to my own employees so that they don't have these weaknesses? Should I borrow funds? Should I raise money so that I don't have a financial issue? So these are weaknesses that you want to overcome over a period of time. So all that becomes part of your internal analysis. The external analysis is all about looking at opportunities. You want to see what kind of opportunities are out there. You want to grab them. If you see an opportunity in a new market, an emerging market space, does Tesla want to sell in another country? By the way, Tesla has been promising they will go to India for the last 3 years, I believe. They have not gone there. So Tesla says in their tweet, Elon Musk is talking about we're going there sometime soon, maybe sooner than later, very soon. But we don't know what is that soon. So they perhaps don't see an opportunity going to India. Maybe there's not much of market potential, or they're waiting for the right kind of government support, or the relaxation in certain tariffs and taxes that are put on American firms. So they're waiting. So Elon Musk doesn't want to go there till it is the exact perfect time, so that when they go there, they want to take the market. They want to be successful. They want maximum number of customers who can patronize their products. So opportunities are always out there, and you're looking for more opportunities. So Tesla, we're talking of Tesla's example. Tesla is looking for more opportunities. India possibly is one of those opportunities. Threats. I mean, you have several other companies like BMW and Mercedes and Toyota and Nissan. We're all making, electric vehicles, and they're also putting a lot of money into their research and developing new technologies. These all can, and even into driverless cars that are driven by artificial intelligence and stuff. So obviously, there is plenty of threats for even Tesla. So Tesla cannot just stay and say we are successful today, so we don't care. No, they're always trying to figure out what are the future threats, current threats, threats because of the pandemic, threats which are beyond the control of the company, threats because of competition and rivalry, threats because of substitute products, so all kinds of maybe threats because of lack of supplies. If they don't get enough lithium batteries manufactured, you could have a problem. So threats can be internal, threats can be external, threats can be from competition. You need to check where your threats are. So, studying your strengths, weaknesses, and looking at opportunities and seeing what threats you have is what we call a SWOT analysis. By the way, SWOT analysis can be done for big companies, for small organizations, small and medium enterprises. SWOT analysis can be done for you and me, and all of us can use what we're talking of planning and strategic management in our personal lives, in our professional lives, for our organizations anywhere. Now once you know what you want to achieve, goals are decided in the first step, your mission is clear, you thought about initial strategies, you also did a very comprehensive SWOT analysis. Now come up with a very polished, completely finished strategy, or set of strategies. If you have the strategies ready, you implement the strategy and see. When I say implement, you need people to implement the strategy. You need organizational systems and structure to be in place to implement the strategy. You need IT support. You need several resources. You need good management and leadership. You need proper organizational culture, which supports implementation. You need rewards and incentives to implement. Otherwise, why would people take efforts to implement a strategy? They should get paid and they should get recognized. There should be incentives. There should be rewards, appreciation, development opportunities for individuals. These are all things required for implementing strategy. The last step: how much did you achieve? How much did our organization achieve? After doing so much, what did we achieve? What is our actual performance? And if the actual performance is not up to the standard that we were expecting ourselves to achieve, why did we not achieve that much? Is there anything wrong with the way we set our goals? Did we do some mistake in doing a SWOT analysis? Did we not understand our competition? Did we not know how to implement properly? Did we not give enough incentive for employees to implement it? Should they have not got more training and that would have helped their implementation? So you ask all these questions. That is when you're looking at proper evaluation of what you've already achieved in terms of results. Once you know how you have done, try and figure out how you can make it get closer to those goals that you've set for yourself. Corrective action, change some of the strategy elements, give more support, reallocate resources. Maybe some of the strategies, maybe you have to collaborate with somebody, some other company. Maybe you have to import or buy certain technologies. You can have partnerships to distribute your products properly. So you have plenty of things as corrective action so that you get closer to your goals. You want to achieve those goals. So I just told you the entire process in great detail. We can go more, okay? Right. So identify the mission is the first step. Now, the mission, yeah, I was telling you that mission is a statement of the organization's purpose. Why are we here? Defining mission forces managers to identify what the organization is in business to do and what is our purpose? What do we do? And the example that they have given here is Avon. It's a cosmetics company, I believe. So their mission statement, Avon or whatever, like you want to say, it says to be the company that best understands and satisfies the product, service, and self-fulfillment needs of women on a global level. So if Avon wants to define itself, they want to say we want to be the best in terms of understanding and satisfying just not products but service and also self-fulfillment needs of all women across the globe. It's a great mission statement to have for a cosmetics company. They're saying it's not we just producing cosmetics. We understand needs and self-fulfillment needs of women. And then we know how to convert those needs into products that will satisfy them, that will make them happy. And we also give them kind of service that they feel satisfied with. So that's a very, broad perspective for Avon as a company to define as a mission statement. And basically, what are they doing? They're looking at customers. Who are the firm's customers? Where does the firm compete geographically? What are the market spaces? Concern for survival, growth, and profitability. Is the firm committed to growth and financial stability? Philosophy. What are the firm's basic beliefs, values, and ethics? When you say values, do we have quality at the top of our mind? And do we have promptness and convenience for customers at the top of our mind? How ethical we are? What are the ingredients? What are the raw material that goes in manufacturing, say, cosmetic products for Avon? Do we use animal products? Do we do animal testing? Which we want to avoid. We want to be ethical. And when we get raw material from across the globe, do our suppliers get fair, share of whatever they should get? Is there fair trade with several farmers that we get, say, herbal inputs for creating or making or manufacturing those cosmetics? So I think all of that is important. Concern for public image. How responsive is the firm to societal and environmental concerns? That's what we're talking about animals and plants and farmers and several suppliers. Products or services. What are the firm's major products or services? What do we do? So technology, is the firm technologically current? So do we use the best technologies in our manufacturing or in our quality control? Or do we have the best testing labs that can test our cosmetic products? Technology. Self-concept. What are the firm's major competitive advantage and core competencies? We spoke so much about core competencies. What are we very good at, proficient at? How did we use our resources to create a unique ability that other companies are going to struggle to replicate, to do the same thing? So that's a core competence. And we want to stay ahead of all our competition. We want to attract more customers. We want to retain our old customers. That's a competitive advantage, and you want to keep it for a long time. What we call in management as sustainable competitive advantage. We want to have that advantage not for short period of time. We want to have that sustainable advantage for a long period of time. Concern for employees. We want to treat our employees with dignity. We want to make sure that we have equitable pay, and then they are getting recognized and appreciated for their hard work. So compensation, rewards, appreciation, recognition, promotion opportunities, that means, and training that we give so that we develop their skill. All that becomes integral to how much of concern we have for our own employees. So mission statement can address all of it or some of it, but it has to be inspiring. It has to be something that gives a sense of direction for organizational effort or managerial effort. So we spoke about external and internal analysis. Internal analysis, as I was saying, we need to look at our resources, combine these resources to create abilities, capabilities. Again, those capabilities, that means you're very proficient as a company. And we know those are very important to our business. That's why you call them as core competences. And obviously, internal analysis is based on strengths and weaknesses. If you look at the external, you're looking at external competition, components of the environment. You remember the pestle analysis, right? Political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal requirements. Those are all external analysis. And threats and opportunities. Threats because of unforeseen circumstances, threats because of retaliatory measures by certain governments, threats because of competition, and the kind of opportunities to collaborate, opportunities to enter new markets, opportunities to produce some of your own raw material. Maybe you decide backward integration. Let me manufacture some of my own processor. Suppose Samsung manufactures its own processors. They manufacture their processors called Exynos processor. Huawei manufactures their own processor called Kirin processor. So it's an opportunity. It's backward integration. Now, Huawei is coming up with their own operating system. That's a backward integration. They don't want to depend so much on Google for their Android operating system. So you can go backward integration. Do you want to depend on certain distribution channels to sell your product, or will you sell it by yourself? That's a forward integration. We're talking of vertical. Like you go backward, you go forward. Vertical integration is two ways. Backward, when you start manufacturing your own components. You have components in a particular finished product. If you start manufacturing those, that's an example of vertical integration, but it is backward. But if you're thinking of doing your own distribution, selling channels or distributions or logistics channels, that's forward integration. It's also an example of vertical integration, but it's a forward integration. And those are opportunities. Now, if you have Samsung, for example, they manufacture mobile phones and televisions and stuff like this. They decided to go into construction business. That's not vertical integration. It's an unrelated business, right? So that's horizontal kind of integration. They're diversifying into another unrelated field, which is construction. By the way, Samsung really does have a construction business. They find it as an opportunity. If you go to the Middle East, a lot of construction. Go to China, a lot of construction going on. So Samsung sees an opportunity here. Why not get into the construction business and make some money? It's another business. It's horizontal integration. It's an unrelated diversity. It's nothing to do with mobile phones. It's nothing to do with televisions that they manufacture. Construction is very different. So it's an unrelated diversification. Also an example of horizontal. They're increasing their width of businesses that they want to do. Once you've done your SWOT analysis, and both external and internal, then you create strategies, corporate level, business level strategies, and you also implement strategies, and then you find out, are these strategies effective? Did we achieve the results? Did we achieve the goals? If we did not achieve those goals, what are the kind of adjustments that we are supposed to be making? So that those are which we called as corrective action, so that we get closer to achieving our goals, both strategic goals and financial goals, or corporate goals, business level, goals or strategies or functional strategies. So that's what, this is what it is. Companies have their own corporate level strategy at the top. Every strategic business unit can be having their own strategy. I'll give you an example. Suppose NYT is a large university, not for profit kind of university, which offers several programs. NYT at the top level can have its own strategy. NYT in Canada, in Vancouver campus, can be treated as a strategic business unit. They can have their own strategy, definitely coming out from NYT strategy. NYT New York campuses can have their own strategy. NYT operations in China can have their own strategy. Now, each of these strategic business units have several functions. Say for NYT, it will be admissions and recruitment, teaching, research, consulting, placements, job offers, and stuff like that. Even infrastructure, safety and administration, maybe other things, the library function, you might have more functions. So if it's a normal company, you have R&D, research and development, manufacturing function, marketing function, HR function, finance function, quality control function, inventory and purchases function. So every company might have several business units. Suppose you take a bank, they might have retail banking, they might have home loans, they may have vehicle loans, they might have insurance business, and then each of those businesses have functions. So when we have strategies, when you have action plans to achieve goals, they're at the top level, corporate level, they're at the business level, several businesses. Each of these businesses have certain functions. Each function has its own strategy. Now, growth. Suppose if the organization decides we want to grow. Now you have several growth strategies that are available. So first, strategy is called concentration strategy. When you're increasing the number of products offered to serve a particular market better, that's concentration. You're focusing on certain thing, and it's a growth strategy because you're increasing the number of offerings, product offerings. So that's concentration. When you increase the number of products that you're offering, so that you serve that market better, and which is very important for your primary business, and that strategy is called as concentration strategy. And then I was referring to vertical integration, right? So when you also want to grow, suppose backward integration and forward. Vertical has two things, backward and forward. Backward is like I was giving you examples. Samsung manufactures mobile phones. They want to produce processors which become part of their mobile phones. That's backward integration. Now, if Samsung decides to sell their products all by themselves, not depending on Best Buy or somebody else, develop their own outlets, like how Apple has its own exclusive outlets, that becomes forward integration. It's also under vertical, but it's called forward integration when they do their own distribution. Now, horizontal integration is when you're trying to combine with certain competitors that you have. Maybe the easiest example that I can give is Google. Google has so many acquisitions, even Alibaba. They have acquired a lot of other companies. Tencent, they have invested a lot into new ventures. So Tencent, Alibaba, Google, they have done a lot of horizontal integration because they're buying and acquiring other companies, and they have more functions, more applications, more innovations because of their acquisitions. This is called horizontal integration, and that means they're growing. And then you have the diversification example, which I was giving about Samsung. You might have related diversification, unrelated diversification. Suppose if NYT, for example, because we do a lot of teaching and a lot of research work, and we offer so many programs, we start becoming big in executive training. We give a lot of training programs to company employees. We give, say, badges. We give micro credentials. We offer small training programs like badges, micro credits, or nano badges, even smaller badges of which speak to the skills and competences that employees require. I think that's related diversification because we're still teaching. We're doing, a different type of teaching, different type of instruction, more hands-on kind of experience, and which speak to specific skills and competences that somebody might require on their job, or we might help people get a certain certification, and all these are related diversification because they still are using faculty, they're still using instructional pedagogy, they're still using a lot of content creation, design and development and delivery patterns. So it's related diversification for NYT. But Samsung, they were actually manufacturing mobile phones and televisions and electronic products. They went into construction business. That's unrelated diversification. It is also a growth strategy, but it's unrelated diversification in this case. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Stability and renewal. We might want to think not every company is ready for, say, growth strategy. They don't have to always grow their business. They might just want to have a stable business. So stability just focuses on what you're doing and do it really well. That's the key. You don't want to be getting into several other businesses because you're not interested in growing, but you want to maintain your current position as an organization. So you want to keep it nice and easy. You want to stay stable. So that's a stability strategy. And the next one is called renewal strategies. Renewal strategies can be two types. One is called retrenchment. This is when you have small problems and you're trying to make sure that you cut down costs, that you use your resources properly, and you overcome those short-term problems so that you can improve performance. Retrenchment is to address short-term problems. You want to make sure you're doing an efficient job. You control your operations in ways that makes you, profitable again, overcome your problems, and especially improve your performance. So that's a retrenchment strategy, but it is for only small problems and short-term problems. Turnaround strategy is a renewal strategy, but it means major cuts in costs and restructuring operations because you have big problems, serious problems. You don't want to get into more trouble, or you're trying to cut down the damage that can happen. So these strategies that you call as turnaround strategies are having far-reaching implications. Means you have massive cuts and say in the number of employees that you have, the number of branches you have, the number of locations you're operating that might go down. So there's plenty of restructuring of your operations that happens. So it's a very more extensive kind of strategy because you have serious problems that you're dealing with. And again, at the end of the day, you want to make sure you don't get into more trouble and your performance improves and all your outstanding problems are addressed. So these strategies are called as stability and renewal strategies. The previous ones are all growth strategies. So what is a competitive strategy? Now, a competitive strategy simply is making sure that you stay ahead of competition. That whatever you do, you're doing it right. Whether you want to keep few products, you want to have few product lines, do you want to get into emerging markets, whatever it takes to actually keep you ahead of your competition, or whatever it takes for you to actually improve your performance as a company, that's a competitive strategy. It's actually addressing competition. It also makes sure that you're profitable, you're making your business model work for you, and it utilizes your strengths and overcomes your weaknesses. It lets you grab opportunities and it lets you overcome those threats. So that kind of strategy is called as a competitive strategy. Now, competitive strategy lets us, maintain our position, or in the strategy group map. If we have several businesses, we're doing good in every business against competition. We are still able to do really good. Now, competitive advantage. So that's what we were saying. That we want to stay ahead of competition. We want to do good, and competitive advantage comes because we are able to generate core competencies. that we're very good at doing as a company, and we also utilize our resources properly. If you look at Porter's competitive strategies, he speaks about cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy, focus strategy, and stuck in the middle strategy. So you have different ways of doing things. First one is cost leadership. The easiest example that I can give for a cost leadership strategy is Walmart. They're extremely highly efficient. Their overheads are kept to a minimum. Walmart does everything it can to cut costs, and they deal in large volumes. And Walmart simply buys in bulk, and when they sell, they're selling in hundreds and thousands of units. And yeah, so yeah, what you pay is what you get. So the quality is comparable to whatever cost and price that you're paying. And if you look at Walmart's caption, it says lowest prices every day. So Walmart is a classical example of one of Porter's competitive strategies. Michael Porter is one of the greatest thinker in terms of strategy. You all must be familiar with Michael Porter. You should be, as School of Management students or business students. You can read more about his strategies. The first one is cost leadership. So focus on all your value chain elements, including your supplies, including your manufacturing, your distribution networks, your logistics, everything you're focused on cutting costs. So you can use activity based costing, break it down, whatever you're doing, break it down into smaller tasks and look at what are elements that can be combined, what tasks can be done better with automation, for example, what are tasks which are increasing the cost for you as a company, cut down those tasks, put technology wherever you can do something more efficiently, make focus on your operations, focus on your inventory management, and so you can focus on your distribution networks, your transportation costs. So all that you do with an emphasis on lowering your cost. So obviously, some part of that benefit of reducing cost is passed on to your customer. So if you go to Walmart, you feel you buy in bulk, you buy in huge quantities, you save money. So that's the first strategic framework, which we call as cost leadership. The second framework is the differentiation. If you want to be, you know, distinct and different when compared to your competition, you have to give something that's unique, that's special, that's innovative, that's very high quality. So it could be design elements, it could be the user interface, it could be ease of use of a particular product, convenience, or something like that. But the product has to be unique and different. That's why it's called differentiation strategy. So exceptionally high quality, extraordinary service could be something. Design elements. See, Apple doesn't manufacture any of its phones. It gets all its manufacturing done in China, including say companies like Foxconn. So Apple is so focused on creating the design elements, making sure they have enough applications, and they're making sure that the operating system is smooth and easy. The security and whatever data, customer data is secure. So Apple is more into the design element, not into the actual nitty gritty manufacturing. They keep close tabs on who manufactures it. They have a strong certificate, a code of certification for their suppliers, for their manufacturers, and quality is closely monitored. But then the design element is the most important. I mean, that's why Apple stays differentiated. Once you use the Apple product, both hardware and the ecosystem itself, you don't want to change to another, say, Android operating system because you feel Apple is differentiated in terms of workflow, in terms of hardware, software, user interface, in terms of security for your data. You feel they're very different. So there are many ways you can go for differentiation, and Apple does that really well. They take time. They're not the first in the market space to say launch foldable phones like Samsung and Huawei do. But when they come back with a finished product, it's polished, it's mature, the applications are all, they work seamlessly on a foldable device. You don't have these bugs and problems and quality issues. You won't have them because Apple wants to focus on being differentiated. So differentiation strategy is the second framework which Michael Porter talks about, which keeps companies, ahead of competition, which makes those companies attract new customers, and which also lets the companies retain customers and ensure there is more revenue, more sales, more revenue, more profits. And the third framework, which we're discussing in this slide, is called focus strategy. Now, you might have a company which doesn't want to manufacture for everyone out there. We want to manufacture something that's very specific to a very small customer segment. So it's a very unique product, extremely customized. It's for a narrow market segment, and that's why it's focused. And that's why we call this as niche marketing or niche product or niche strategy. So if you talk of certain companies which do that, say limited edition cars, Maserati and these Rolls Royce and stuff like these companies which produce certain products which are limited in number, handcrafted, precision engineering, and there are only few of these kind of pieces that are manufactured, and they're up for grabs. This is what is focus strategy, because it's attention to detail, extreme high quality. Maybe the material that goes into manufacturing these, it's not for everyone, because the price is going to be extremely high, even the limited number of quantity available. And maybe it's not just the performance, it's about the status. I own this limited edition product. I have the money, I own it. I'm one among the 50 in the world who own this product. So that's a focus strategy. So it's not for everyone. It's extremely premium product, high priced, and available only in limited numbers. That's what we call as focus differentiation, or you call it as niche strategy. And so that's the third framework. Stuck in the middle, the last one is the fourth framework, which is stuck in the middle. Now, stuck in the middle, I think you understand. They don't want to be very low cost because it might not be the highest quality. They don't want to be niche because that's extreme quality and extreme price. They want to be somewhere in the middle. So they want to make sure they give you upscale features, one of the best features, not if not everything. And it's not going to be super high price, but it's still going to be a little on the higher side. But for that little higher price, you almost get everything. So that's like stuck in the middle. Say the easiest example I can give for that is Toyota's Lexus. The Lexus line of cars that Toyota manufactures is not like Toyota Camry or Toyota Corolla. Other models of Toyota are like much cheaper, low priced. They're for everyone. Uh, Say Maserati and Ferrari and all these Rolls Royce is more focused strategy. I would think Lexus falls in between, stuck in the middle. So it's still expensive, not super expensive. Does it give everything? It almost gives everything: luxury, technology, smart features, everything, the navigation and all the sensors and stuff like that, upscale features, but for something that's a little on the high side, but not super high. So I think Lexus from Toyota falls in that fourth category, which talks about stuck in the middle because they're trying to combine cost versus differentiation in a nice way. Now, do you guys understand this? I just want to stop here and ask you a question. Do you understand it? Because understanding Porter's strategies is a very important thing. I can come back and explain if you have questions on it. Do you have any questions for me?
Not right now, Professor.
No?
Not right now, Professor.
Okay, fine. I'm going to continue. So functional strategy, see, those strategies which we talked about here are at the corporate level, okay? And then when you come back, every business will have several functions, as we were talking. Research and development, their department has to have their own strategy. How can they promote research? How can they support research? What stages of research and development is each project under? If they're working on three products, three different new products, what stages are they? Are they in the stages of
Uh,
concept? Are they in the stage of design? Are they stage in the stage of, say, creating a model? Or have they actually converted the model into a prototype? Have they done some beta testing? Did they do test marketing? And now, it's kind of finished product ready to manufacture and mass produce. So how are they going to, support that activity? Where do they get the funding from? Do they have, say, enough market study to show that there is substantial demand for a new product that's being cooked by the R&D department? And is the manufacturing department ready to manufacture that new product all by themselves? Or do they have to depend on some other outsourcing options for certain components? And do we have adequate staff, skilled people who can work with these departments to make that new product happen? And does the finance department support research? Do they support manufacturing and use of new technology? Do they support sales effort and marketing efforts? Do they support acquiring of human resource? So is the finance department doing their job in supporting what other departments do? So every function should know and work together with other departments, other functions. Otherwise, we are not going to achieve what we are supposed to be achieving at the business level. So every business has several functions. Functions for each business can be organized differently, and every function in each business can have their own strategy to achieve whatever they want to achieve. Do you have questions about functional strategy?
Um, I don't have a question on this. It was actually
Guys,
the
if you're going to
previous
be
one.
quiet, I wouldn't know if you're really understanding. At least tell me, sir, we get what you're trying to say.
Um, I have a question on the previous one though.
No
The
questions?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to continue. So, what do organizations have as strategic weapons? Each of these, I mean, this is not an exhaustive list. These are strategic weapons that any company can use to overcome competition, to retain customers, to attract new customers, to improve their sales and revenue streams. So, customer service, the best kind of, I was asking in one of my other classes, what do you think about customer service from Amazon? In the 2 years I've lived in the United States, I really like Amazon's customer service. If we have a problem from buying from some buyer, and I can actually come back to Amazon's customer service and complain and say the product was not of the best quality. I'm not getting enough response from the seller. Actually, Amazon does a great job of refunding money and then coming back quickly, addressing my concerns as a buyer. So I feel happy with Amazon's customer service. They're big, they almost sell everything that you can think of, but they also have strong customer service, which is actually very important. It's a weapon. Employee skills and loyalty. Suppose you have the best companies are great companies because they're able to retain talent. They provide them the kind of you know organizational environment where they enjoy working, the kind of culture and climate at the workplace where they're happy contributing, and they also give them enough opportunities for learning and growth. So that's a strategic weapon. If you take good care of your employees, train them, give them opportunities to learn and grow, and you treat them with the kind of respect that they deserve, and recognize them for their kind of efforts that they put in, compensate them equitably, they're going to do a great job. They will continue to do a great job. That's a strategic weapon. Innovation. Again, we spoke about Tesla today. There's so many companies in fintech. My other class, some of my students were talking about fintech. Several of those companies that you find in the finance business today are moving into using a lot of technology integration into offering the financial services and products. So fintech is big. Any kind of thing that you might create to help these companies, whether they're banking companies, insurance companies, or fund managing companies, whatever, like you say, you take Morgan Stanley, you take Chase, you take Ameritrade, or you take BlackRock, you could take any of these, Robinhood. So any of these companies that do plenty of, help retail investors put in money and trade in stocks, or Bernard and Harrow, Lantern Investment, the companies that I worked for during the last semester, it's more of fee-based kind of income. So they do a lot of analysis of the financial markets and manage the portfolios of individual investors. And they give very specialized services so that they minimize the risk and optimize the returns and maximize the returns as much as they can. So to me, fintech is a great place for innovation, as much as like Tesla's example of innovation in electric vehicle cars. You have innovation in space technology. NASA, now coordinates work with several private companies, including Amazon's Blue Origin. So innovation is all over the place. Innovation in biotechnology, in creating vaccines for these kind of dreadful pandemics and viruses that you have. So innovation is there everywhere. Innovation can be there in the housing industry, low cost housing. Innovation is plentiful in agriculture. So any company that's operating here, innovation can be used as a strategic weapon to stay ahead of competition. Great quality is a great strategic weapon. Imagine if you get the best kind of quality, something that's durable, that gives high performance. I mean, it's not easy to replace that kind of image that you have about a product or a company, because quality is a strategic weapon. Social media, you want to reach everywhere, to reach everyone quickly and get every generation engaged. Social media is a great platform. It can be a strategic weapon, and more companies are using social media to reach out to customers because of the pandemic. More and more companies are going online to improve their sales and to have business continuity and fight this pandemic with greater resiliency. And social media is part of that particular strategic weapon. Big data, Amazon does this. Every time you see something pops up on your Facebook or Instagram or any of your social media platforms, it's because these companies are collecting data of what you're surfing, what makes you interested, what kind of shopping experiences you're involved with, what your past purchases are. Data is collected. And these companies, I mean, there's no one individual doing anything, but there's systems and softwares and algorithms that actually work behind the scenes to to send you those pop-up advertisements. One, eBay does that. You are interested in a particular product, this particular seller is giving you an extra 20% discount. It just pops up on your email, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, just to remind you you're seeing something. You left something in your cart. Why don't you go and finish your purchase? So big data is running all the time. They're collecting information, and they're supporting. They're sending you stuff that will get you to buy something, go back and repurchase, or maybe finish your purchase. So these are all strategic weapons that companies use to grow, to stay ahead, and to compete with the other players. The third learning objective for today's class is compare and contrast approaches to goal setting. I mean, we spoke about setting goals. How do companies set goals, and what kind of goals do we set up? So the types of goals, we spoke about these: financial goals versus strategic goals. You understand that both are important. Financial goals are also important because we are interested in improving return on investment, return on assets that we have employed, and all kinds of financial, say, profitability. We are interested on earnings per share. So we can set goals which are very specific and financial in nature. You can have strategic goals, say you want to grow, you want to get into an emerging market, you want to acquire some business, you want to concentrate and increase the number of products that you offer. So you can have plenty of strategic goals for the coming 1 year or 2 years. So that's about the types of goals. You can have short-term goals versus long-term goals. That's another way of looking at it. So traditional goal setting flows from the top. Okay, where are we? So traditional goal setting is from the top management. So we need to improve the company's performance. You can start with that. And then you have several divisions, business divisions. So somebody there will say, I want to see significant improvement in our division's profits. Every department have their own goals: increase profits regardless of the means, which looks pathetic in terms of ethics. And the last one is, don't worry about quality, just work fast, which is not really nice. because if just we are being pushed to achieve goals, it's bad. We need to make sure we understand the mission, we understand the vision, we know what is important and how do we treat customers, and the means are as important as the goals, and quality is extremely important. We don't compromise on quality. So this is a funny way of showing how traditional goals are passed down from the top to the bottom, and sometimes they get distorted. People don't understand how goals should be set. They find a disconnect between organizational divisional goals and departmental goals and individuals goals. You should see the connect. If you don't see the connection, you'll start doing weird things. Management by objectives is a great way of setting goals. This was spoken by and actually created by, developed by Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management thinker. I have a chat finally. Wasn't sure if you were able to hear me previously. Not sure what's wrong with my mic. Okay, strategies from how would companies try to fight market again others in such a saturated market like phones. Majority of near same hardware software with minimal design differences. Something like phone repair shops in New York. There are countless of. Okay, so they're able to be profit. How are people able to stay profitable if even if others are doing the same thing? Yeah, I kind of understand your question. Yeah, I should be able to hear you. Maybe there's a technical problem on your side. But anyways, you're asking me two questions. One is the saturated markets that you have for phone companies and how and not much of it a difference in design. Yeah, it's I agree there's a saturation element there, but I think companies can still come back and innovate in terms of say form factor, in terms of cameras, in terms of processing speed, in terms of value added features, and plenty of other stuff like that. Like for example, I use a Samsung phone and along with a stylus. So the stylus actually helps in improving productivity for me. I take notes, I keep a track of my calendar events, and the stylus can be used to activate my camera, take selfies. There's plenty of, and there are a lot of gesture control in the Note 20 Ultra from Samsung. You have gesture control using the stylus. So I'm actually putting the stylus in front of me because I have a virtual background. You put it there, it just disappears. So this is what actually I think, and the foldable devices, for example. I think there's a lot going on in form factor, whether they're foldable devices, devices that can seamlessly, let you consume content on a larger screen. It's a tablet, come phone at the same time. So I think innovation continues, but as I would agree with you, it's not easy to continue to innovate, but companies have to, or at least in their processing speed and how quick their refresh rates. Samsung speaks about 120 hertz refresh rates. So when you're actually scrolling up on the Google search itself, the scrolling is seamless and it looks fast. It looks very snappy. So there's plenty of hardware and software and technology improvements that are still possible. The second part of your question, speaking to those phone repair shops in New York City, and you have so many and close vicinity, those companies will struggle. They might look profitable, but they're going to be successful only if they can offer high quality service at a low price. So if they get the components, those components required for repairs at a cheaper price, that's where they make profits. And obviously the service, because word of mouth publicity will happen quickly. If somebody has got great service in a particular repair shop, you would tell, don't go anywhere, go here. The kind of quality of service and repairs that you get is really good, and you won't have a problem for quite some time. So the word of mouth publicity for these small shops is an extremely good thing. And operations, push the cost down, get the best quality material, and work smart, and not have too much of overhead costs, not too many employees. Maybe the rental is something, the location is something that you have to consider. Certain locations attract more traffic, certain locations you have very few people passing by. So that can ruin your business. So, decisions on location, decisions on how do you procure raw material and components, decisions on how many people you want and how capable they are. All these factors will let you stay afloat, even if you have intense competition. Others are not going to survive that onslaught. So I think I tried to explain that as much as I could. Going back to management by objectives, Peter Drucker talks about it. And Peter Drucker is a great management thinker. Okay, so I don't know if there was another chat from anybody. Okay. So Peter Drucker speaks about goal specificity. When you set goals, and he also speaks about management by objectives, it's decision making or setting goals which is mutual. So it's participative. You don't simply set goals just because you're a manager. You don't set goals for everybody in your department or in your team, but you actually talk to individuals. You talk to your team before you go for setting, say, team goals or individual goals. And these goals are very specific in terms of, say, how you define them. They're not vague, they're not very broad, they're very specific, they're measurable. As we said, smart goals, they're attainable, relevant, and time bound. So, and time bound. See, the third point is time bound. And MBO is a great mechanism to, get participation while setting goals, also deciding what kind of support do employees require to make these goals happen, to work for towards achieving those goals, and the inhibiting factors that you might have while you try to achieve those goals. What are the kind of inhibiting factors you might face, the challenges that you might face? They actually give an opportunity to discuss that. And MBO also lets you collect feedback from your employees. They're trying to achieve a goal. How much of the goal has been accomplished? What difficulties do they have? Do they need further support? So performance feedback is embedded into the goal setting itself. So MBO is a great method for goal setting, for communicating these goals, for evaluating performance, for taking feedback, and then supporting, strategies that can get you closer to achieving those goals. So well-written goals, as we were speaking all through this class, they should be in terms of outcomes. So they should be specific, measurable, and most of the times they should be quantifiable. How many customers did you get? How many customer problems did you solve? How many conflict issues could you resolve? So it has to be quantifiable. Not everything, but at least most of it. Clear as to time frame. So in which period? Quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. Did we make improvements? Did we increase our customers who are coming in? Did we solve more, customer problems every quarter? Challenging, because you want to challenge your employees, something that gets them motivated to work harder. So they should be challenging, but still attainable. You don't want to set goals that are impossible because they can completely demotivate somebody. They can turn you off. So you want to set goals that are really challenging because people are capable of doing better, but they should still be in that vicinity where they are attainable. They should be written down, they should be very clear, because you want to go back and refer to what goals were accomplished and what goals were not accomplished in full and what goals were never attempted. So they have to be written down, signed off by both the supervisor and the individual or the team that's agreeing to, because that's mutually set. When goal setting is done in a participative way, uh, everybody is invested. Individuals who are happy to accept that these are the goals for the next financial year. So we're invested. You have the buy-in of your employees because they're participating in goal setting. And these goals must be communicated to all members who should know it, so that it's clear that each of us, we know what we should do. Each team knows what they have to do. Each department knows what has to be accomplished. And everybody knows departmental goals, divisional goals, organizational goals. These have to be communicated across, say, intranet, company newsletters, maybe across meetings. You need to do it several times so that people remember, recall, and they're working towards that. So steps in goal setting: you review the company's mission, look at the jobs that people have to do, look at resources. We spoke so much about it. Determine goals individually or with the input of other members. They should be written, communicated. Feedback should be collected from time to time. Don't wait till the last, towards the end where everything is beyond your control. And of course, somebody achieves those goals, rewards and incentives. I said so many times, you need to recognize, appreciate, reward people for having achieved something. So goals can be different types. So strategic, uh, there's a long term, they give direction, they can be used single time. Tactical at the lowest level. At the bottom are called tactical goals. They're short term, they're very specific, and then you repeatedly do it. They're standing. So you tactical goals is like every customer you meet, be polite, be courteous, be informative, answer questions, come back and resolve the complaint, make a follow-up call. Are you happy or not? Take feedback. You will do the same thing. That's a tactical goal for a salesperson or somebody in the customer relationship management department because they're standing. It happens again and again and again. That's a tactical goal. So if you look at strategic versus operational planning, strategic, a lot of it is involved with top management. They're most of the times they're thinking about strategic planning. They think about the operations, but not for a great percentage of their time and effort. The middle is an optimal blend of both strategic planning as well as middle. So someone like me, for example, I'm somewhere in the middle. So I'm involved with strategic planning along with several committees and teams and leadership, a team of the School of Management. But I do a lot of implementation as well because I'm right here at the middle. But if you speak of the School of Management dean, he would do a lot of strategic planning, overarching plans, the strategic plan for say 2020 2025, primary goals, secondary goals. So he does a lot of strategic planning. Of course, he helps us understand how these can be operationalized. So because he belongs to the top. When it comes to the lowest level, they do little strategic planning, but they do plenty of operational planning, implementation, execution, talking to the end users, and then actually interacting with customers, interacting with other staff and employees or workers in a manufacturing location. Because they're first level managers, they do more of operation planning, very little of strategic planning. So approaches to planning, it can be top down, very heavy. Everything is done at the top, and they just tell, you know, you got to do this, you got to do this. It just cascades from the top. So bureaucratic companies, very centralized organizations, they have this top down traditional approach. But if planning takes the inputs of every organizational member, and that's a development kind of approach that you have because you're getting every organizational member to participate in the planning process. To me, this is a very good approach because you're getting the investment of every organizational member, and it involves everyone literally. So the last one, contemporary issues in planning that you might want to think about. Planning in dynamic environments, because things are changing so rapidly, you might want to make sure that you actually are prepared for those kind of challenges. And how are you prepared? In dynamic environments, I think the best way to be prepared is continuously collect data, revisit your plans, revisit your strategies, and look at the environment, the political, economic, social, technology, environmental factors, and the legal framework, which is always it's good to actually keep an eye on what's happening around you so that you're not rigid. You will revisit your plans, you will revisit your strategies. See, there are proactive elements of your strategy which you're thinking will work for you. There's a deliberate strategy which you're implementing, and there are reactive elements because this strategy is evolving. When competition changes, when the environment changes, there are reactive elements of the strategy which is continuously evolving. And some of the strategy elements are not working for you. You discard those elements of the strategy. You say, this is not relevant anymore. So they're proactive elements, reactive elements. The actual strategy which is implemented is called deliberate elements of the strategy. There are discarded elements because you know these elements of the strategy are not working for you. So obviously, that's how you work on strategy, continuously improve on strategy, because at the end of the day, your goal is to make sure your organizational stakeholders are working towards organizational goals. Whether they are strategic goals or financial goals, we want to achieve them. So that's the key. So that actually finishes off this chapter. So I would actually ask you, briefly, if you have questions